So you've finally gained some strength. Your lifts have gone up, maybe your bench press has got up to 275 or even 315 pounds. But in the process, you had to do a dirty bulk and now you've got really fat. So you're strong, but you're bloated, you've got a belly, you've lost all of your definition, no vascularity, and maybe you don't even look like you lift anymore. So was it even worth it to get to this point? And we've all done those really dirty bulks where we've got fat because the strength gains feel great. But in this video, I'm going to tell you how you can have both as a natural lifter. You can get really strong whilst also staying lean and have an aesthetic looking physique. And at the end of the video, I'll tell you how I personally, a guy with pretty average genetics, managed to get to a 300 kilo deadlift while still having six-pack abs. And if you would like me to help you with this process, I will set up your training and nutrition so that you no longer need to do something like go mad or get really fat to get strong. Top link in the description, you can hire me as your personal strength coach, or second link if you want to go run my strength training programs. So we've all done those really dirty, aggressive bulks where we just eat as much as possible to get as strong as possible, basically. And if you come from like the traditional strength training background, you know, you follow people like Mark Rippetoe, Jim Wendler, all the old school strength coaches you came up watching YouTube fitness, you'll know that a lot of these guys will tell you, if you're not gaining strength, the solution is you need to gain more weight. You need to be 200 pounds. If you're under 200 pounds, it's victim weight and all this bullshit they'll tell you. And I bought into a lot of this stuff. And when I was a younger guy, I'm 28 now, when I was 21, 22, 23, I was in university, college, I was trying to get bigger, trying to get stronger. I always just thought, like, if the weight on the bar isn't going up, it's because I'm not eating enough food. And I just thought, if I eat more and more and more, I'm just going to get stronger and stronger and stronger. And it got to a point, I remember when I was in university, where I got really obsessed with the weight on the scale. I was weighing myself like 2, even 3 times a day. I remember a guy at my old gym used to joke that he was going to start charging me to use the scale, because literally every time I go in the gym, I'm weighing myself at the start of the session, the end of the session. I was religiously tracking my macros. I was drinking olive oil and doing loads of dumb, disgusting shit just to gain weight, because I thought, like, if I woke up and I had a low weigh-in, I hadn't gained weight, I was going to have a bad training session, I wasn't going to be able to put any more weight on the bar, and it became like a really unhealthy mindset. And after kind of 1 or 2 years of following this like aggressive force feeding to gain weight, yeah, I gained a little bit of strength, but I looked terrible. Like, I just got really fat, and I've got some like old disgusting pictures of myself where like my stomach just got huge. I think my waist was probably like 38 inches or something crazy. I felt terrible. I was getting out of breath really quickly, and I still had like average intermediate numbers. My bench was around like 275. I had a 405 squat. I think my deadlift was like 455, 200 kilos, I think. And at the end of this like really long bulking period, I looked back and I was like, was it really worth it? I put like maybe, I don't know, 20 kilos on my total or something just to look like shit and not even look like I lift. Nowadays, like many years later, now that I've learned a lot of different things about training and I've came to a lot of realizations about weight gain, I've realized that like you really don't need to gain weight to get stronger. And I've probably gained maybe 5 kilos total over the last 5 years of training, so about 1 kilo per year. Yet my bench press went from 315 to 365. My squat went from like 480 to 545, and my deadlift went from maybe 585 to 660 in that time, and I've only gained about 5 kilos. So is it really the weight gain that's driving the strength, or is it the other programming variables? And in this video, I'm going to share with you things that you actually should change rather than obsessing over gaining weight. Because I don't know about you, but if I'm lifting these weights and I'm trying to get strong and I'm putting a lot of time into strength training, I want to actually look like I lift as well. Like, I want to have some abs. I want to have a bit of separation, some veins and stuff like that. So I'm going to tell you how to have both, okay? So what I would recommend that you do instead, because I've been there and I've done the big dirty bulks and I've force fed and I've drank the olive oil and I've done all this stuff to try and get strong, and it doesn't work. And you're seeing that it doesn't work, otherwise you wouldn't have clicked on this video and you wouldn't be watching. Now, I'm not saying that you never need to gain weight. If you want to get strong and you're a healthy body weight, you've got your waist measurement is below 37 inches as a man, yes, I would recommend slow weight gain over months and months and years. But the key word there is slow. I would recommend that you gain no more than 1 to 2 pounds per month. I would do it that slowly, because realistically any more than that is just body fat. It's just contributing to you just being out of shape and not looking like you lift. So 1 to 2 pounds a month, do it nice and slow. And here is kind of my system or my approach that I would use to managing your body weight and getting as strong as possible. Instead of doing these really aggressive bulks, these really aggressive weight gain periods where you just eat everything in sight to get stronger, then you do a drastic cut and you lose some of the muscle you built, you lose a bunch of strength. Because what usually happens with that approach, and you've probably seen this, is that you do the bulk, and during the bulk you feel amazing because you're eating loads of food, your leverages are changing, you're just getting thicker, you feel sturdier under the bar, you hit these PRs. Then when you come and you cut down and you drop all this body fat off, because your leverages change so much, your lifts fall apart, and you probably end up going back to the previous strength that you were before you even started this bulk. So my approach is, I recommend that you set up actual systematic planned cutting and bulking periods, but the key difference is you have a body fat range and a waist circumference range that you stay between. So you don't just do a bulk aggressively until you feel obese basically, and you don't do cuts just until you feel lean. There's like clear parameters around them. So I tell my lifters that we are going to cut and bulk between 10% and around 17% body fat being the top end. You can measure your waist as well. So if you wanted to add on a waist measurement, I would say like 37 inches around the belly button for men would be the absolute cutoff that I would go to. For most of you watching this video, I'd say 35 inches because that's where you're going to start to accumulate a bit too much body fat around your midsection. So we're going to do cutting and bulking periods between 10 and around 17%. I say 17 because as you get closer to 20, again, you start looking a bit too chubby in my experience. So I like about 10 to 17. Some of you could go as low as 8% if you're naturally quite lean and you can get there quite easily. But set these kind of parameters and know that you're always going to stay between them. This ensures that you don't have like massive, like really drastic swings in your body weight. Your leverages don't change massively, and because of that your lifts will always perform quite similarly, because people underestimate how much your leverages can change going from like 30% body fat when some of you guys are doing these dirty bulks down to like 10% at the end of a cut. That's a really drastic swing, and if you wanted to tighten it up more, you could even go like 10 to 15% in this range. Just depends on your personal preference. So we're going to have you stick between about 10 and say 17% at the top end, okay? And we're basically going to do cuts and bulks between these two set points. So for most of you watching, if you're carrying a bit more body fat than you would like, I would recommend that you cut first and try and cut down to that 10%. Get lean first, set yourself up with a nice lean base, and then when you get there, then we're going to start to reverse and then we'll move into that bulk. Now, for these cutting and bulking periods, when you cut, I would recommend that you lose about 1% of your body weight per week. So let's say you weigh like 90 kilos, that would mean you drop about 0.9 of a kilo per week, okay? Nice and slow. I mean, it's relatively slow. It's slow enough that you're not going to lose strength, but fast enough that you're going to see consistent progress in terms of the scale and body composition and stuff like that, so you're motivated to actually continue. When you bulk, like I said, 1 to 2 pounds, do it nice and slow. Don't try and force feed it, because if you take anything from this video, you cannot force feed muscle and strength gain. They are both very slow, and chances are if you're not gaining strength, it's nothing to do with the fact that you're not gaining weight. It's more so related to programming variables, and I've got a bunch of videos on programming that you can go and watch to kind of figure that out. So using this approach, like I said, you never get fat. Your leverages never change drastically, so you're not having these big swings in terms of your strength performance. And you've always got like quite a consistent looking base where you always look aesthetic, you always look like you lift, your health is always in a good place, and it's going to assist with your performance in the gym a lot. And I've been using this approach for the past few years, and I use it with my clients as well. And I would never go back to that really drastic approach that I would use before that you guys are using. Like basically my approach was just get as big as possible, get as fat as I can basically tolerate, and then go and cut down. I had to spend like 6 months cutting because I've got so fat in the process. So I much prefer this newer approach that I'm using. Now, in order to kind of track your progress through these phases, it's very important that you set the cuts and the bulks up with a lot of intent. So what I mean by that is I will personally open up a notes page, and each week of my cut or my bulk, I will take an assessment at the end of the week. So on a Sunday, for example, so let's say you would just put a heading week 1 of bulk, and then on the Sunday, put down your average body weight. So take your 7 weigh-ins for the week, first thing in the morning, take an average, and then put that average body weight down. Then I would also measure your waist around the belly button, and then I would measure your body fat percentage using the Navy method. That just needs a couple pieces of information. It's really simple to calculate. So yeah, then you've got your average weight, your waist circumference, and your body fat percentage. And you can track that every single week. And then when you get to a point where it's like body fat is around 17%, waist circumference is maybe 35 to 37, then you can be like, okay, it's time to end the bulk. Now I'm going to move into my cut, and you repeat the process for your cut, and you'll see your body fat come down. Once it starts to approach near 10%, you can start to end your cut. And if you actually track it in this way, rather than just, because some guys, they rely just purely on visual inputs like the mirror. And let's be honest, like a lot of us will have a very biased opinion there. Lots of us have got body dysmorphia and things like this. And oftentimes on your bulk, you won't even realize that you're getting as fat as you are. And guys tend to drastically underestimate their body fat percentage. Like a guy will say, yeah, like I'm like 12, 13%, when realistically they're like 20%. So take some of these measurements, be a bit more objective about it. That way you're going to keep your physique in a better place, keep your health in check. And like I said, one of the biggest things, you're not going to see these massive swings in terms of your leverages, because I think that's what oftentimes will kind of ruin your strength progress. Because how many times have you bulked up, got really fat, and you hit a bench press PR? Maybe you bench like 300 pounds, 315 pounds. Then you cut back down and your bench drops all the way back down to like 275. And it's because that big change in leverages. You're not as thick on the bench. Maybe your arms aren't as thick, or your lats, so you don't get that rebound at the bottom and stuff like that, okay? So a couple pro tips for this process to kind of close out this video, sorry. One of the biggest things I would recommend is that you change your mindset a little bit. I know a lot of these old school strength coaches have told you, like, if you're not gaining strength, it's because you're not gaining enough weight. And Mark Rippetoe will tell people, like, if your fives aren't going up, you need to do GOMAD, or you need to get more calories down you. And I don't agree with this part at all. Like I said to you, I've gained around 5 kilos over the past 5 years, maybe even more years than that. And 9 times out of 10, it's nothing to do with the weight gain that's stopping you from making progress. It's the programming variables. You are probably not running an individualized program. You're not troubleshooting programming according to your individual response. You might be doing too much volume. You might be training to failure too frequently. You might not be doing the main lifts often enough. All the time, it's those variables that you can kind of adjust, rather than just forcing more calories down you. Because if you execute a cut, wow, for example, now I've lost 7 kilos, which is about 15, 16 pounds. I'm still PRing every single training block, and I'm getting stronger all the time because my programming is in check. So oftentimes it's not the weight gain that is holding you back, it's the programming. So that mindset change, just kind of dissociating weight gain with strength gain, is going to be a big help for you, and it's going to stop this obsessive mindset where you feel like you have to gain weight. The next pro tip I would give you, like I mentioned previously, is to track your cuts and your bulks. Make them kind of really systematic, have a lot of intent behind them. Don't just kind of bulk until you get really, really fat. Have a clear endpoint for it. 17% body fat, 35 to 37 inch waist. Track those variables week by week, because we do all this stuff with the training. We're really kind of detailed and analytical with our training program. We track volume and all these different things. But then when it comes to nutrition, people just think, fuck it, I'm just going to bulk until I get really fat, or I'll just cut until I'm as lean as possible. But like, I don't know if many of you guys have heard of Parkinson's law. It's where, like, if you don't put a defined time frame on something, like say you had like a college assignment or something and you left it to the last minute, you will get it done in that time frame. So if you don't set a defined time frame, it will just expand to kind of fill the time that you give it. And that's why a lot of you guys end up cutting for like a year straight, because you're never in a deficit for half the time. There's no time frame on it. You don't do it with any intent. So set a real, like, clear, specific deadline. So I'm going to cut for 3 months until I get to 10% body fat, 32 inch waist, for example. So set them up very clear, lots of intent, and you'll get there far more quickly, and you won't impact strength performance in the gym so much, because you've actually got a deadline to work towards. And then the final thing I can give you from this video, I've mentioned so many times that you don't need to gain weight to get stronger, like you don't need to force feed weight gain. If you do decide to do a bulk and you want to do some nice productive gaining periods, if you take one thing from this video, do it nice and slow. 1 to 2 pounds per month is all you really need. Obviously this will depend on the individual. If you've been training for less amount of time, obviously you might be able to gain weight a bit more quickly. If you've got very good genetics for muscle and strength gain, you can maybe do it a little bit more quickly. But in general, about half a kilo to a kilo a month, or 1 to 2 pounds, because muscle and strength gain is very painfully slow. So anything more than that is just body fat. It's just contributing to worse leverages and to you just looking worse as well. So ditch that old school strength advice that you have to gain weight to get stronger. Get the programming variables in check. I'd highly recommend that you get on a better program. Again, top link in the description if you want me to write it for you. Second link if you want to run my paid programs. I also do have a free program here for intermediates. Go steal that one, pair it with a good cut or bulk, and I promise you will get stronger. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you have any questions on weight gain, bulking, nutrition and stuff like that, post them in the comment section down below. And until next time, I'll catch you in the next video.